Hey, you guys, it's Peter, and I'm back. Of course I'm back. I'm not going anywhere. Boost! Peekaboo, I see you because I'm YouTube famous now. Available summer 2023, the album, Dad, Shimmy Shimmy, AF, the country edition, the classic country edition. Grandpa, tell me about the good old days. Boost! Love can build a bridge. Don't you think it's time? Don't you think it's time? Boost! How are you guys doing today? Okay, so funny story. Well, I don't know how funny it is, but let me tell you about the deep investigation that I have to do being a drama, commentary, tea, gossip, candle review company channel over here. So every day before I get ready to sit down and film a video on this channel, I sit on my front porch and I was just looking for it. I guess I don't have it down here today. I don't have my iced coffee. It's in the kitchen. Someone's in the kitchen with Peter. Well, I will be in the kitchen later today cooking up something for my Peter Does Stuff channel. But anyway, that's beside the point. So every day before I get ready to sit down and film on this channel, I sit out on my front porch and I drink a little iced coffee. And as I am going through my iTunes, trying to find a song to sing for the day, I am watching my neighbor across the street as she is watering her flowers and her plants or doing whatever, and I'm asking her, hey, what are you doing today? And she says, I'm planting my gladiola bulbs. And this is what you do when you are a deep investigator, drama commentary, candle review company of the world. Okay, that's what you do, okay? You have little conversations with your neighbor about planting plants, and then you go through and you pick a perfect song. And I was going through my iTunes, and I am a huge fan of the Judds from back in the day. A little unknown fact that you guys might know, but I'm a huge country music fan. And so something that happened to me when I got sober. When I was growing up, my dad listened to a lot of like Willie Nelson and Waylon Jennings, and which I guess you refer to as like country western. He also listened to a lot of like Kitty Wells, Patsy Cline, things like that. And so I grew up on Tammy Wynette. So I grew up on all of that music from my dad, right? He also listened to a lot of like Bob Dylan, Neil Young, things like that. But then when I got sober, I don't know what it is about people in sobriety, but a lot of people in sobriety love country music songs. I think it's because, or country music, I think it's because a lot of country music is about, you know, getting drunk, cheating, getting divorced, lives falling apart, and then lives coming back together and things like that. So I think that's probably why we probably relate a lot to country music. I don't know, or the lyrics of country music. But I'm a huge fan of the Judds. And so it was interesting because I was going through my iTunes and Love Can Build a Bridge by the Judds came up, right? And then right after that, I couldn't believe it because I don't have it, like I'm not going through the artist or whatever, I had it on shuffle. Right after that, Grandpa by the Judds came up, which is like one of my all-time favorite songs by the Judds, right? So I thought I had to do a little bit of homage to this. Now, a kind of sadder story to all of this, when my mom passed away in 2008, the day of her funeral, my aunt had this beautiful, like, we had the funeral, and then afterwards, my aunt had this kind of, like, you know, beautiful memorial thing afterwards at her house with tons and tons of food and all this kind of stuff. And so I stayed there for a while, and there were a lot of, like, my mom's friends and my dad's friends and my aunt's friends and stuff that were staying there and telling stories and whatnot. And I just felt emotionally drained. I was so drained, right? And so I went in the kitchen, and I got a huge Ziploc bag, and my aunt was like, take whatever you want, take all the food that you want and whatever. So I went in and I just got, like, all these cubes of cheese and cookies and all this kind of stuff, and I put it in this huge Ziploc bag. And on the way home, I got a fountain pop at the gas station, and I was like, I'm just going to sit down on the couch, I'm going to zone out, I'm going to watch some movie. Like, if you've ever gone through, you know, which I'm sure most of you have, the 3 or 4 days or 5 days of going through planning and the funeral and the viewing and all that kind of stuff, it's so emotionally draining, right? And I was just ready to just sit on the couch and just decompress. And so I sat on the couch and I was like going through the channels, and there was nothing on that I wanted to see. And finally, it came up on the Lifetime movie network. work, and Love Can Build a Bridge, the true story of the Judds, was starting, and I sat there, and for 2 hours, I ate my cheese cubes and sobbed my eyes out, and it just so related to that story. So anyway, so sad about Naomi Judd a couple years ago, though, isn't it? So sad, and I'm still a huge fan of the Judds and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, little story I wanted to share with you guys. So I have 2 things I want to talk about today. First of all, I want to talk about Jeffree Star was in a live stream last night, and he got swatted by the police, which I'm going to talk about that. I think I'm going to talk about that second. First, I want to talk about the fact that Kendall Rae, true crime YouTuber, came out and sided with Adam Mcintyre and made a public statement on Twitter. And this is, I think, very, very important that this is happening, especially for somebody like Kendall Rae that talks a lot about victims and talks about a lot about victimization and things like that. The other reason that it is important is because, and a lot of people, you know, every time that I make a video and I talk about Adam Mcintyre and the Colleen Ballinger situation that is going on, which please go back and watch my last 2 videos. Please go to Adam Mcintyre's channel. You know, I explained to Adam that I think it is really important that people are hearing it from his voice and him telling the stories, and he has posted several videos talking about what is going on in the whole situation and everything that's come out afterwards and everything that he's found out and on and on and on. So I'm not going to go into every single video and explain everything that's happened up to this point, and there's, just to be honest with you, there's too much to give it the honor that it deserves. So please go watch Adam's channel and go watch his videos if you want to find out more about what's going on. But what happened was that, I believe it was in 2020, when Adam came out with his initial allegations against Colleen Ballinger, talking about her sending him lingerie. And at the time, he was, I believe, like 14 or 15 years old. Colleen came out with an apology video, and that apology video, which we now know from having other people come out and speak, was very contrived, and it was kind of used to manipulate her audience against Adam Mcintyre, okay, and of which Adam got a huge backlash as a result of. And so people didn't believe Adam. People sided with Colleen through that whole situation. And one of those people was Kendall Rae, that came out in a tweet, and she defended Colleen Ballinger against these allegations. I noticed about, I think it was like a week ago, it was like a day or 2 after Adam put out his initial video addressing all the situation, just his recent videos that he came out and talked about it. I noticed that he had retweeted, I believe, Kendall Rae's original tweet, and he had addressed it and said something to the effect of, and I can't find it, I went in to look for it and I can't find it. He said something to the effect of, like, Kendall, do you still feel the same way, or something like that. And up until today, it has been like absolute crickets. Kendall Rae hasn't come out and said anything about this, right? And, I did a video, I believe it was on Sunday, where I was talking about all of the people that are surrounding Colleen that are staying absolutely silent, that are not coming out and talking about this, right? And I think that, and there's a lot of people now that are talking about this as well. Dustin Daly did a video yesterday. He talked about specifically a lot of people in his video: Manny MUA, Laura Lee, James Charles, Trisha Paytas, Daniel Prada, Joey Graceffa. He talked about a lot of people that have surrounded themselves with Colleen Ballinger through the years. And, it's interesting when you see the similarities between some of these same people and the people that have also supported James Charles through the years. In fact, Trisha Paytas is getting a lot of crap right now, but I have to say, Trisha Paytas is really the only person that really has not aligned themselves with James Charles. The rest of them have all kind of aligned themselves with James Charles and Colleen Ballinger, right? And many of them have made jokes about the James Charles situation, or have defended James Charles, or even just until recently have continued to attend events with James Charles and gone to his parties and hung out with him and things like that, right? And so it's interesting when you see all this, and a lot of people, when I talked about it in my video, said, well, I wonder if it's because they all know things about each other, and so if one of them speaks out, then somebody else will come out and talk about the other person, and then it's going to make them, like, it's all going to fall apart, right, at that point. I don't know, okay? That's a pretty scary thought when you think about that. If you think about that, that's how deep-seated that this whole YouTuber thing goes. And, it's interesting because I was thinking about this last night as I was kind of like watching all this happen, And I was thinking about when I went out to LA a couple years ago and I did some collabs with people, and they were very generous to do collabs with me and things like that. But I can remember like each interaction with the people that I talked to, they were very much into the industry of YouTube, and they were very much talking to me about, and I have to say, in all honesty, with the exception of Trisha Paytas, I mean, she was the one that was kind of like, she just did her thing, posted her videos and whatever. Every other person that I did a collab with, and every other person that I talked to was very much in kind of like networking, talking to people, talking about the parties, and they'd say, oh yeah, I go to parties with David Dobrik, or I go to parties with this person, or I go to parties with that person, and kind of like name dropping a lot and whatever. And I can remember thinking to myself, this has got to be exhausting at the expense of getting your views and your subscribers up and whatever. Like, I would not want to live here. Like, this would put me in Indianapolis on my front porch with my flowers and talking to my neighbor. Like, this is not something that I would want any part of. But when you think about that, and you think about the interactions that all these people have had with each other, right, then you have to believe that they know things about each other. I mean, when you think about your own friend group and things that you know just from going out to dinner, and, you know, maybe Sally Joe says, did you hear about Judy Smith? And you're like, no, I didn't hear about Judy Smith. What happened? Well, last Tuesday, yada, yada, yada. And you're like, oh, seriously? And then Judy Smith shows up, and then Sally Joe goes to the restroom, and Judy goes, did you hear about Sally Smith? I mean, that happens in friend groups, okay? Not just celebrity friend groups, not just YouTuber friend groups. So that happens in our friend groups as well, right? So it makes sense that they have to know things behind the scenes that are going on. This is why it is important that these people come out and speak. It's also important because they need to take a stance for what is right. They need to take a stance against all that is going on with Colleen Ballinger. I mean, the fact that we are now at like a week and a half and Colleen Ballinger has not come out, and she is touring, she is doing meet and greets, she is doing her show, and on and on and on, and it's crickets on her end as far as coming out and addressing this. Now, a lot of people have said to me in the comment sections, and I even said this in my video, that she has a legal team that is telling her, you know, not to do this, not to do that, not to speak out. I understand that, right? But don't tell me that these other people around her have legal teams that are telling them not to say anything about that. I mean, maybe they're, you know, maybe they're contacting their attorneys or whatever, you know, like in Salt Lake City when they were all calling their attorneys, you know, in the van after Jen Shaw got arrested. But I have a feeling that they're just kind of afraid that it's going to hurt their reputations. But this is the thing, okay, is they're all making jokes about James Charles and whatever. I mean, Daniel Prada, Joey Graceffa's ex, literally about 2 weeks ago, just put up a montage of pictures on his Instagram, and one of the pictures was James Charles' cake that said, and you did it at my birthday party, okay? Meaning, and we know that Daniel Prada is good friends with James Charles, meaning that he thinks it's funny. So 3 years down the road, when nobody's really talking about this on a regular basis anymore, and whatever happens, happens, and is it going to be a joke to you guys then? I mean, are predators funny to you guys? I guess, like, in the YouTube world of all of you big performers that are making a lot of money and have a lot of is predatorial behavior funny to you? I don't understand that. Like, it's very confusing to me, right? So it is important that some of these bigger YouTubers that have stood by Colleen come out and finally address the situation and say something, okay? And don't stay silent anymore. They finally come out and say, I cannot continue to side with this, or I cannot continue to condone this, or even just come out and say, Colleen has been silent too long, and as her friend of many years, like, I can't continue to stand by and watch this. Colleen needs to come out and say something, right? You know, I mean, just to not say anything and act like this is just not going on when it's like literally the hottest thing that's going on social media right now, and everybody's talking about it, and everybody's watching all the videos and everything like that. Like, please do not tell me that you guys don't act like you don't see it when you're out at bars on Pride Day weekend and you're hanging out with each other. Don't tell me y'all aren't talking about this. Don't tell me that you're not whispering behind the scenes about what's going on and what do you think about this and whatever, you know? Somebody just put up a clip of Shane Dawson when Shane Dawson was on an interview with Johnny McGovern, which I used to love his show. I watched his show. He interviews a lot of the queens from RuPaul's Drag Race and stuff. And on the show, Johnny asks him something about, like, some question about which is the YouTuber that whatever, and he says Colleen Ballinger, who is Miranda Sings, because every time I get together with her, the first question she says is like, okay, like, who do we hate today? Who do we not like? Who's the most problematic and whatever? That tells you that Colleen talks that way. That's from Shane Dawson's mouth, okay, from back in the day. That tells you that Colleen and Shane were having those conversations. So don't tell me that these other YouTubers aren't having these conversations about what is going on currently with Adam Mcintyre and his allegations against Colleen Ballinger. It's unfathomable to me that they are not talking about it. So the fact that they are aware of what is going on and they are staying silent about it, to me, silence equals complicity to some degree, okay? You could come out and put some statement out, and it doesn't have to, you know, whatever. Just, you could even say, Colleen, you need to come out and you need to address this. You know? I just, like, it's baffling to me why more of these people aren't coming out. But Kendall Rae, thank God, did come out finally, and she did address it. So I want to read to you the statement that Kendall Rae put up on Twitter. And Kendall said, I have been dealing with personal issues and off the internet lately for the most part, but I have been made aware of and am now catching up in the Colleen Ballinger situation. Okay, well, I will say this, and, you know, I'm gonna try to take her Twitter response at face value, but when I noticed that Adam called Kendall out, she still continued to tweet for days after that about things that had nothing to do with Colleen Ballinger. She had to have seen that it was going on, so I don't know why Kendall Rae waited so long to come out and talk about this. I mean, I don't know why she waited a week and a half. I'm glad that she did. I'm glad that she is the first big, huge YouTuber that is finally coming out and making, you know, some kind of stance against this. I just don't know why it had to take so long. I don't know. I mean, it was obvious to me because I kept on following, watching what she was doing on Twitter, and she was not offline. I mean, she had been active that day and the day after and was posting things on Twitter. So unless she has a team of people that do that, I don't know. But, like, that's beside the point, really. I'm glad that she's coming out now and she's addressing it. So she says, I am horrified by this person I was once a fan of and had once defended. Clearly, with the new information that has come out, I no longer stand by her or am a fan in any capacity. I shouldn't have defended her back then. Obviously, I didn't know all of this when I defended her in a tweet years ago, but I still apologize for doing so without understanding the gravity of the situation. And hey, listen, I love somebody for taking accountability, all right? Like, props to you, Kendall, for taking accountability for that and saying, you know, that you defended her without knowing, like, really what was going on back in the day and without having full knowledge of that, you know? I think that's great. She says, this has taught me a huge lesson that even people you would never imagine being capable of doing horrific things absolutely can be. I am shocked and disgusted. We already recorded, but Janelle and I will be recording an extra part to add and talking about our feelings on this on the sesh this week, and I have messaged Adam privately, okay? And I have to tell you, I'm super impressed with what she's saying, you know? And I hope that this encourages other people that have defended Colleen in the past, that have stood by Colleen in the past, that are friends with Colleen. You know, I was looking through all of the collabs that Colleen Ballinger has done through the years, and it is unbelievable. It is unbelievable when you look at the amount of people that she has done collabs with through the years. The majority of them is mostly like Trisha, Shane, and Joey Graceffa. Joey Graceffa is the leading person that she has done the most collabs with, hands down, okay? So the fact that Joey Graceffa has not come out and said anything about this, you know, for or against it or taken a neutral stance is just, it's unbelievable to me that he hasn't come out about this and said anything. The fact that his ex, Daniel Prada, who is very vocal and has been very vocal about Shane Dawson, Jeffree Star, Gabby Hanna, whatever, right or wrong, you know, the fact that he hasn't come out and said anything about this on the heels of him just making a joke 2 weeks ago about James Charles and the birthday cake situation, like, that just to me is a real bad taste in my mouth. I'm like, okay, so you want to take the moral high ground when it's convenient for you, but you don't want to come out and address things when it's your close friends that, you know, were on your shows and might affect you and might affect your reputation and your sponsorships, oh, and your ad affiliate links that you don't disclose, by the way, okay? So you're afraid that that might affect your overall reputation if you come out and speak against Colleen Ballinger. Colleen Ballinger is not getting out of this, okay? To anybody out there that is watching this, to the Mannies, to the Lauras, to the Bretman Rocks, to the Daniel Pratis, to the Joy Graceffas, to all the people out there that have surrounded themselves through the years with Colleen Ballinger, Colleen is not getting out of this, okay? Colleen she is done, all right? Like, this is not going away. In fact, this is just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And so you guys staying silent, at some point, you're going to be forced to come out and take a stance against your friend. You're going to be forced to do that, okay? And what's so interesting to me is how many people were not demanded to take a stance against James Charles, which I believe is why 3-4 years later down the road, James Charles is just gallivanting around his house, you know, doing this, doing that, TikTok challenge this, TikTok challenge that. And there are still people that follow him, because if people had been forced at that time to come out and take a stance, if his friends that were enabling this behavior had come out and been forced to take a stance, if people had said, you know, like, I'm not going to watch you anymore, I can't continue to support you if you're going to support this, when there's evidence, and James Charles came out in a video and took responsibility for it and is taking accountability video, how you can sit there as a friend, okay? Like, this is baffling to me, because I asked Manny after the taking accountability video about Manny, or about James, and he goes, well, James isn't really like that if you know him in person. James had come out in his taking accountability video and took responsibility and said that he did do those things. So how you can stand there and say that James Charles never did these things is unbelievable to me, right? This is a different day. It's a new day, right? And I think it's time that these people be held accountable, that are standing by and they're just acting like, who, me, what? Y'all benefited for years, okay, off of being in Colleen Ballinger's collaborations, off of like being at her parties and things like that, off of being at her shows and all this kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just don't understand why people are just acting like they don't see it at all. Like, seriously? I mean, y'all put up these Q&As and say, ask me anything. I think Laura Lee just did this. Ask me anything. Nothing's off the record. We're going to address it in a video. Okay, Laura, what do you think about the Colleen Ballinger situation? You stood by this gal and gone to her parties for years. There's my question for you, Laura Lee. You said nothing's off the table. All right, there's my question for you. And there's my question to everybody else. Why aren't y'all coming out and speaking about it? And quite frankly, on another note, with the allegations that are going around right now, I mean, these are serious, serious allegations, you guys, okay? There is evidence of inappropriate conversations that she was having one-on-one with minors, in group chats with minors, things that were being said behind the scenes, on and on and on and on. It's unbelievable to me that people are not tweeting at Netflix. I mean, she still has 2 shows on Netflix. She has Haters Back Off, and she has a stand-up live show that she did. Are you telling me if this was anybody else that was accused of this situation, are you telling me if this was a man that was accused of this situation, that that show wouldn't be demanded, that it was removed from Netflix, that people wouldn't be tweeting Netflix left and right? So yes, this is going to get bigger, okay? And this is going to be picked up by international, national news publications. And you know, Adam mentioned in a live stream that he's being reached out to by journalists left and right. He's going to continue to tell what's going on, right? And people are going to continue to tell what's going on and what has happened with them. Adam's not the only person. This has happened to a lot of people, all right? It's a huge situation. So for those people that are out there acting like, who, me, what? I was never friends with Colleen. I never went to her Christmas party, you know? It's baffling to me. I don't understand it. So, you know, I hope that maybe with Kendall Rae's coming out and apology and taking responsibility and saying that she no longer supports Colleen and whatever, I hope this kind of moves some of these people that for years wanted to act like they were the moral high ground, for years, okay? Coming out and tweeting and making videos about this and about that and calling people out left and right. Y'all have called everybody out, okay? I hope that maybe Kendall Rae's statement comes out and moves some of these people to do the right thing. It's time. It's time to do the right thing. So that's what I wanted to say about all of that. Woo! It gets me so heated. I just like, just to see these people stand by and I watch their Instagram stories and they're just acting like, who, me? Couture fashion show. Oh, we're out at a bar for Pride Day weekend. Oh, we're at a restaurant. Look at my wrapped sandwich. Look at this. Look at that. Oh, I'm in Japan. Aren't I having a good time? And you guys are acting like this isn't going on and that these people aren't directly affected by this and you have benefited, and the reason why you have the life that you have today. My battery died, which is what always happens when I start getting real heated and getting to the good stuff, okay? But you know, like, let's just be for real, right? The reason that y'all have the lifestyle that you have today is from all the collabs that you guys did through the years with other people, right? But every time something problematic comes out with one of these people that you've been in a collab with or that you've been closely aligned with, it's like silence. You can't say anything, right? But you had no problem benefiting or gaining off of them when you were on the rise up, okay? I mean, it's unreal to me. So why these people cannot come out and speak about it, baffling. It's baffling to me, you know? And there's a lot of people in my comment sections that are like, well, why should they come out and why should... Because it's the right thing to do. Because it's the right thing to do. You know? Well, I don't understand. Like, when I see those comments and I see all this stuff go on, like, I don't understand, I guess, it makes me really, really sad. What has really happened in our world to just do the right thing, right? Like, just to get on, you know, Daniel Prada and Trisha Paytas both said in videos, Daniel Prada's was while he was driving in a car. Trisha Paytas's, I can't remember where hers was, but both of them said, and it was around the same time, and I can't remember with who they were talking about, maybe Jeffree Star or somebody like that. But why don't you just come out and when something goes on, when there is drama or when there is a situation that happens, just come out, take accountability for it, take responsibility for it. Whatever happens, happens. Why can't you just own your situation? Daniel Prada said that in a car vlog that he did, okay? Trisha Paytas said that, right? So if that's how y'all feel, where's the energy now? Why can't you, Daniel, why can't you come out now and say that? Well, I said this in a car vlog, that it's easier just to take responsibility for your actions, you know? Why don't you get on video and why don't you call out Colleen? Trust me, okay? It'll be a quicker video than you redoing your house for the 15th time. So I don't understand why you can't come out and you can't call out these people that you have benefited from greatly. Like, that to me is crazy because y'all are waiting for this to pass or you're all waiting for this to go away. This is not going away, okay? This is not going anywhere. It's just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, you know, and let's hope y'all don't get pulled into it. Let's hope, you know, because if one bird starts talking, God knows, I mean, last time it was Gabriel Zamora that came out and was saying all this kind of stuff about the Tati and Jeffree and James situation and all this kind of stuff. Who knows who it'll be this time? One person comes out and says, I mean, Jaclyn Hill was at that party where she was put in a circle. I'm telling you right now, like, Jaclyn Hill is nobody because she's got so many things that she needs to address. But if I was Jaclyn Hill, I mean, she went to Colleen Ballinger's Christmas party, and they put her in a circle, and in the middle of the circle or whatever, they asked her about the lipsticks. Colleen Ballinger asked her about those lipsticks at her own damn party, okay? Which I'm not saying that I wouldn't ask a friend about the same situation. You know, watching my channel, trust me, if Jaclyn Hill was my friend, I would ask her about those damn lipsticks, okay? But at a Christmas party that you are a guest at, you're going to put somebody in a circle and ask them that question. If I were Jaclyn Hill, I'd be calling that rude bitch out left and right, okay? I'd be saying, I cannot believe that this is going on, and I have a lot to answer for, but this is not right. There is nothing right about this. Jaclyn Hill, she's another person that's benefited off of Colleen Ballinger. They all have. They were all at her parties. They were all doing this kind of stuff, you know, and they all benefited off of Colleen Ballinger when Colleen was Miranda Sings, and she was getting Netflix shows, and she was getting the most views. You know, I mean, just go through and put Colleen Ballinger collabs on YouTube and just look at all the people. All the people. It will surprise you. A lot of it will surprise you, okay? Of all the people that have benefited off of the rise of Colleen Ballinger. And that's why they're staying silent, because much of their careers were built on the backs of these people. Okay? Much of the people's careers were built, and that was back in the day when a lot of people were doing collabs, and a lot of people, and I don't have anything against doing collabs with people, right? But if you do a collab with somebody and then that person comes out and they do something problematic, does that mean that you're not going to talk about it? Seriously? I don't understand that. So the time has come. Y'all need to come out and speak. So anyway, there's that I wanted to talk about. The next thing I wanted to talk about, and I'm getting like a lot of direct messages about this today, and I'm not really sure what people want me to say about this, but it's about the fact that Jeffree Star was swatted last night. Now, I'm just going to give like my layman's definition, explanation of what that means, just based on what I understand. Well, maybe I should look it up so I give you guys a more firm definition of what it is, so that, because I don't want to give the wrong definition. The action or practice of making a prank call to emergency services in an attempt to bring about the dispatch of a large number of armed police officers to a particular address, okay? And this has been something that has been going on for years and years and years and years on live streams. And I can remember back in the day when I did a lot of live streams, people would say things like, be careful, you might get swatted and whatever. And basically what it is that you're on a live stream and somebody says, or somebody calls up like the police and they say, you know, they're doing this or they're doing that or whatever, there's somebody in danger at this household or whatever. And then what happens is while you're on live stream, okay, they think it's like a real funny prank. It's not funny at all. It's disgusting is what it is that the police come to your house and then they knock on your door, and at many times of things I've seen in the past, they literally come in your house, okay? I mean, like, it's like 6 to 10, like, you know, armed officers coming into your house to make sure everything's okay, right? So this happened to Jeffree Star last night. Jeffree Star was doing this thing. I don't really, to be honest with you, understand it. He's been going live on TikTok a lot, and he was with like 3 other guys in this TikTok live, and it was like battling the top 10 on TikTok or something like that, and he got swatted. And all of a sudden, if you watch the video clips, which I'm not going to include because every time I include a TikTok on one of my videos, it gets copyright striked, and then that means it can't be watched in certain countries and things like that. So I'm not including it in here. But you can go look it up and just look up Jeffree Star swatted on TikTok, and you can see all the videos. They're all there. But what happened was he was sitting there, and then all of a sudden he got like a call from his gate that the police were at the gate. So he goes outside, and then it flashes to him being in his Hummer, and he's like, "This is crazy! Like, I don't even know what happened." And like an ambulance came, police officers came, fire department came. I mean, it was on and on and on and on and on. And people want to know what I think about this. Well, I mean, I think, you know, people know that I'm not a huge lover of Jeffree Star, right? Okay. That doesn't mean that I think that these kinds of things should happen to him. I think that this is absolutely disgusting that this happened to Jeffree Star, you know? What a scary situation. And I have to be honest with you, like, he actually played it off very, very well and like was very calm about the whole situation and handled it very well. Like, that would freak the hell out of me, all right? I'm telling you right now, like, that would freak the hell out of me. You know? And so when I was watching all of this go down and people were posting videos of it on Twitter and people were sending me videos of it and whatever, like, I thought, this is a really scary situation. Not to mention that you're taking away time and money from the police department, from the fire department, from health services, the ambulance, things like that. I mean, like, to send all of those people out, I don't know if you've ever like called an ambulance to come pick you up or you've had to ride an ambulance before or whatever, but that costs money. That, I mean, like, they charge you a lot of money for that, right? So when you're talking about like the fire department coming out and whatever, all of that, like, you're talking about a lot of money and time spent on a prank. That is not funny to me at all, right? Not to mention that you are basically, when you're exposing all of this and you're calling and looking up Jeffree's address, which he said was public information anyway. I wasn't aware of that. I wouldn't know how to find Jeffree Star's house in Casper, Wyoming. I mean, unless you just drove down and saw a star, whatever. But it was interesting because this is a side note, but when I was looking at the TikToks, there's some guy in there that like Jeffree's driving in front of him and it shows his license plate that says like Star 1 or something like that, and it's his Hummer, and they start following Jeffree Star, and Jeffree's like, or it says underneath there, or they say in the TikTok or something like, "Oh, I think Jeffree got scared and obviously he didn't want to give us a signed autograph." Well, why would Jeffree want to give you a signed autograph? Okay, like when you're following him around town and you're tailing him, I mean, these people were like right on his tail, you know. So that's scary, you know. And here it is. Now this has happened to Jeffree once. It probably, well, hopefully, because it's happened once, the police department, things like that, will be aware that the next time that it happens, that there's no seriousness to the call when they get the call, you know, or they'll just call Jeffree and be like, "Is something going on out there?" No, and then they'll have like a code word maybe or something like that. I've heard that that's what kind of has happened in the past with people. But, you know, it's really a scary situation. Like, imagine being there in that situation. All of a sudden you have all these police showing up saying that there's something going on in your house. I mean, that would be terrifying. You know, you talk about traumatic experiences. That's scary, right? So no matter how you feel about Jeffree Star, no matter if you think he's a good or a bad person, he didn't deserve this. Like, that's horrible, you know? Not to mention that his little dogs were probably freaked out by all that, and he said that, you know, the animals were watching what everything was going on and whatever, and I just feel like this is where I think that people take away, and I've said this for years in covering drama and doing things like that, which I don't even really necessarily consider this drama. I think that this is a really sad situation. But, you know, it's like Call Jaclyn Hill out for the lipsticks. Call her out for this. Call her out for that. Call Jeffree Star out for this. Call Jeffree Star out for that. You know, call Shane Dawson out for this. Call him out for that. But there are some things that when people start doing certain things, it deflects off of the main issues of what these people should be addressing or being held accountable for to begin with. And so when you do all this other kind of stuff, like, it really takes away the attention from what the main issues are. Now, Jeffree hasn't really been doing anything recently. I think he's just is starting to promote the more products that are coming out in the skincare line and things like that. So, you know, I don't know what that's about, but like, he hasn't really been in any drama lately or has been causing a scene. He's been pretty much on TikTok lives left and right as far as I've heard. So anyway, I just think the whole situation is very, very sad. And I think it's very, very scary too, you know? So anyway, let me know what you think about the comments. Let me know what you think about all of that in the comments section below. I love you guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.